Welcome to another 21 Hats Dashboard. Every Monday, Gene Marks and I talk about the issues we think business owners should be monitoring this week. Welcome, Gene.
Hello, Loren. How are you? Happy Monday.
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing good. Good weekend. Ready to get off to the start of the week. Doing a little traveling this week as well. So,
interesting.
Keep posted on where I'm going to Dallas and Miami and Colorado Springs. Crazy.
Wow.
Yes.
But in what order?
That's the order. That's the order.
That's the order. That's too bad.
So, I'll let you know if I survive.
A lot of time in airports. Yes. All right. Let's dive in. Gene, last week you wrote a piece about businesses coping with supply chain problems, but you said most businesses could learn from the experiences of your dad filling up his Buick back during the oil crisis of 1973. Can you explain that?
Well, let me ask you, Loren, you and I are about the same age. Like, what kind of car
I'm a little older.
What kind of car did your family have when you were growing up?
We had Chevys. We had a Biscayne for a while and a Bel Air for a while. So I think we had the Bel Air when the oil crisis hit in 73.
Well, yeah, that's what I wrote about. My dad was a Buick guy. He also had an Oldsmobile out, after, as well. But, we had a Buick estate wagon, one of those big, station wagons. It got something like 12 gallons to the mile. And I was thinking like the guy, just during this whole supply chain stuff, because all my clients, so many businesses are scrambling around for different things. And, in 1973, I was 8 years old. And I do remember that, there was a big gas crisis then, from OPEC. I don't even know if you have recollection, but it's, you could only get gas based on your license plate. There were odd number days and even number days based on the last number in your license plate.
And there were lines everywhere.
It was it was just a big, it was a huge thing. People getting into fights. Anyway, my dad had a job. He had the big estate wagon, the big Buick. He never had a problem with gas. Like, he always was able to get gas. Like, it was never an issue. And I never thought about it because I was 8 years old. Now, I think about it. I'm like, how did that was a big supply chain issue. What did he do? And I'll tell you what he did. There was a gas station right down the corner from us that was owned by a guy named Bert. And it was an independent station. And my dad went to him all the time. That was his go-to guy for gas and repairs. And the fact that he owned a Buick 455 estate wagon, he was in there a lot for repairs. So he got to know Bert really, really well. And they became, friends. And when the oil crisis came, Bert, who ran the gas station, he kept a special reserve of gas for his special customers. And sure enough, my dad was one of them. So whenever my dad needed gas, he paid for it, but he just kind of drove around the back, and Bert would give him his supply of gas, especially for him, no lines, no whatever. And it was never an issue. And, in the end, I swear, people talk about monkeying around with their vendors. I hate it when pundits and experts are like, oh yeah, get financing off your vendors. No need to go to the bank, sure, string out your vendors. They're only like the most important partner that you could have in your company. You rely on them for the materials and supplies. Go ahead, screw around with them. My dad was always on a good relationship with Bert, and Bert appreciated my dad, and he took care of him with supply. And that's the same thing that, one of the big lessons I think we need to walk away with, now in the supply chain crisis. I have clients that are they're getting materials. They are getting them because those clients have had good relationships with their vendors, and their vendors put aside stuff or give them special consideration when they do get their materials on hand. So you got to have good relationships with your vendors. Don't screw around with them. Don't, mess with their payments. Don't be that kind of guy. Treat them well. And,
I think you said in your piece for Entrepreneur, you want to be their best customer.
Yeah, you should be there, but they should be wanting to work with you. They should be looking for, they don't want to be waiting for your payment. They don't want to, because people are human, and, think about it.
That's a big part of it, isn't it? If you just pay your bills on time,
it's a big part of
you
it.
Might be their best customer.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I'm that way with my clients. I give special consideration to the clients I like the most, and the ones I like the most are the ones who pay me the quickest. So,
of course, if your stuff is stuck in a shipping container in the Suez Canal, this may not make a difference.
But when the stuff does eventually come in, or if it comes trickling in, you want to have that relationship with the vendor that'll say, listen, I got to, we can help you out with some stuff. Do you know what I mean? So that's where you want to be. And it worked for my dad. It really did. It was very, very topical for today.
All right, next story. Another problem facing businesses. You also wrote about businesses trying to get their employees back into the office, and you had an interesting suggestion for a way to do that.
Yeah,
what was it?
Pets is what we're talking about, right? I mean, it is this. There's been this explosion of, as we know, during COVID of pet owners.
The puppy boom.
The puppy boom, yeah, that's what it's called. And now there's, it was going on before COVID, but now it's been exacerbated because so many people have pets, and it turns out that some people, there are pet health insurance plans, like employers are offering all sorts of crazy plans, like counseling for dogs, because they're going to have separation anxiety. I am not kidding. That is like a benefit that some employers are now offering. They offer paternity benefits. They've been doing this for a while now, where when you get a new a puppy, you get to take days off of work to be with your new puppy and train your puppy. And then a lot of companies are stepping up their pet insurance. Some of them are negotiating discounts, or they're at least just paying for it. So that's a big benefit. And Amazon has always been a leader here, Loren. Like they've got something like 6,000 pets, dogs registered on them. They have a big bring your dog to work policy, which to me sounds like all sorts of issues. And there are. I mean, if you're thinking of having employees bring their dogs to work, that's great. But you've got to get waivers signed. You've got to get everybody buying into it. Your insurance, you have to have special areas in case they poop, the whole thing. It's a lot of headaches.
In case they poop.
In case they poop, when they poop. So it's right. I mean, it's like a whole thing, but a lot of employers are considering those pet benefits, and geez, employees are in such short supply. If I'm sitting across somebody and they're trying to juggle between my company and the guy down the street, and then you're like, if you come to our company, you can bring your dog, or we'll pay for your pet insurance. It could be the deciding factor in hiring an employee. That's why they become that popular.
I think it's kind of interesting that you, of all people, is offering the advice of allowing employees to bring pets to work, considering that you've been a remote-only office for years now.
It's easy for me to say, God, bring it.
Exactly.
What do I care? My dog's right
Do you
here.
offer?
As you and I were talking, he's snoozing, right across the room from me. I see him right now. But you're right. It's easy.
So you do bring your dog to work?
Yeah, I bring my dog to work every day. It's exactly right. But I do see it as a big issue now. I think people, they've been working from home for a year and a half now. People are getting back to the office, and there is separation issues with your pets. So it's a concern for some employees and their animals, and so employers are responding. Why not?
All right, Gene, next story. Here's a question from the New York Times Sunday magazine ethicist. The question is it okay for a business owner to pretend to be a lower level employee on the phone with a customer in order to give the impression that the business is bigger than it actually is? What do you think?
I don't know. Say that again, Loren. I didn't pick you up the first time. So just to make sure we're clear.
Sure.
So you've got the business owner that's talking to a customer.
Yeah, it's like the call comes in and it's, the owner's not available right now, but I can help you. Let's talk about what your needs are. And the idea is to give the impression that there are lots of employees there and it's a big office and an established company that can handle it. I'll read to you the answer from the...
No, don't read to me the answer. I don't want to hear somebody else. Let's give each other's opinion. You know what? First of all, look, this is a back and forth thing. Let's hear your opinion. What do you think of that?
Oh, listen to this. It's an interesting topic right now. The question we're talking about is faking it until you make it. And It's kind of in the news lately, partially with the Theranos trial, and some other situations. I don't think deceiving customers is ever a really great idea. And I'm reluctant to encourage that. But, this one doesn't seem like a felony to me. How about you?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, it's kind of hilarious. I think if I was the customer calling in, and then if I found out about that this guy was doing this at a later date, it would definitely impact my thoughts about the guy. Like, okay, he was just BSing me, when I originally called in. So what else is he BSing me about? You know what I mean?
It doesn't establish a great relationship. And there's always the possibility that you're going to be found out. So even just from a practical standpoint, let alone, a moral standpoint.
Yeah. But you know what? In the scheme of things, I'm fine with it. Honestly, I've done similar stuff myself in my business career. I mean, like you said earlier, like we've been running virtual offices now since 2005. For a number of years, I didn't tell people that because it's
it was weird back then.
It was weird, yeah. And on top of that, like we have our business address is a post office box in the Bala Cynwyd shopping center outside of Philadelphia. But for a while when we had and it's box, I would put like our post office box, but what I would put sweet in front of it. So I was doing that. So I'm not any better than this guy who's like pretending he's a bigger company. Like I'm saying it's
same ballpark.
Yeah. So I would be like, oh, well, sweet 45, with the, whatever, with the street address, So
all right. Here's another one. I won't name names, but I know somebody who had a box storage company. Right. And when he got started, he had a big warehouse with no boxes in it or a few boxes in it. And but he wanted to make it look like he was established. And if somebody came and inspected, they would see lots of other people are trusting him with their, important boxes. This is, it wasn't just empty boxes. These were boxes with important files. This is before the internet. So what did he do? He filled his warehouse with a certain number of empty boxes that looked like they were full. And then he put up mirrors so that he could walk people through. And if they looked down an aisle, they'd see the mirror and it would double the number of boxes they thought they were seeing. What do you think?
Awesome. And how's he doing now?
He did very, very well.
There you go.
Very well.
Whatever you got to do. Whatever you got to do.
You don't really mean that. Whatever not
illegal, but I'm just saying, like, when we set up our phone system, when I first started up my company, we always used like a hosted phone system. This was even back in 2005. They've been around that long. And anyway, dial 1 for customer service, dial 2 for sales, dial 3 for stuff. Every call went to me. So it's the same thing as that guy. So no, it's that's what startups do. They make it seem like they're a little bit better or bigger or whatever. And I don't know. When I look at the list of things that would issues in this world, that's really not in the top 50. So there you go.
Well, it's like you said, the customer who finds out might look at you askance a little bit and wonder what else, but they also might just admire your moxie.
Also true. I would probably find it pretty funny as long as the guy's producing a good product or a service. I would find it pretty funny. So, again, from an ethics, listen. You're talking to my dad. We talked about my dad in the Buick. My dad always told me, have very few principles, but stick by them. I have a wide range of an ethical spectrum. We could put it to you that way.
All right. There's one other story I wanted to ask you about. Interesting piece in the past week about startup founders and how the life can be exceedingly lonely. And the point is that, and I think this is true of most business owners, but this story focused on startup founders, but it's true for a lot of people who don't necessarily have anybody they can really talk to about what they're experiencing trying to build and run a business. It doesn't really make sense to talk to employees if the company is struggling or if they have problems. You may not have friends who have any idea what it's all about. You may not be able to talk to your spouse, depending on your relationship. You may or may not want to share what's really going on if you're struggling with something. The one person that these startup founders in the story turn to are business coaches who often hear the real story. And that's the one person that they lean on, which raises another interesting question, which is just sort of, how do you find the right business coach, and can you, how do you know you're getting someone who really knows what they're doing and give you good advice? Any thoughts on any of that?
Yeah. First of all, I'm sorry. I've been crying here. Right? It's the startup owner is lonely. The business owner.
Now, Gene.
I'm all by myself with my piles of money, and I'm lonely. I'm running my business, and there's no one to talk to.
You think startup founders have piles of money?
Well, if they got venture capital money, yeah. But listen,
not their money.
It does seem like, boy, we're having sympathy with entrepreneurs. These people, they chose their lot in life.
Like you.
Yeah, I mean, listen. The fact of the matter is that they are right. I mean, it's a very lonely world when you start up a business. Like, do not forget that if you have some romantic idea of starting up a business, it ain't romantic. Nobody cares about you. All your friends will say, "Oh, we wish you the best," and blah blah blah. Nobody cares. And when you start up, you realize that you're out for yourself. I have a lot of clients that are family-owned businesses. And even though they yell and scream and punch each other in the face frequently, they still have other people. They do have their family members to talk to about the business, and that's really, that's kind of a big thing. I mean, my dad passed away back in 2005, and him and I were running the business together, and we used to scream at each other all the time. Well, it was me screaming at him, but I do miss having him around. Where I have nobody to talk about my business with. Like, I'm all alone on making decisions, and and that, sometimes that's definitely a hard thing to do. I don't know if having a business coach is necessarily the right, I guess whatever floats your boat. I mean, if you find a good coach and they're smart enough and, whatever, and they have your interests at heart, sure, why not? But yeah, I mean, it's lonely if you don't have a partner and, you're forced to do things. Now, on the good side, being alone means you can decide to do whatever you want to do, right? I mean,
which works some of the time.
Yeah. Which works some of the time. And, you make more mistakes because you don't have other people thinking, or looking after you. But I don't know, like the whole story about it's lonely being a business owner or lonely being a startup owner. I mean, I don't know if that's like, like people want to hear that right now.
Well,
know what I mean?
You're right. And especially when you put the term loneliness to it. But what it's really about is what you said. It's, who are you going to talk to? Yeah. And I didn't know that you felt that sometimes, that you would like to have somebody to talk to. That we could use these Monday sessions for that, Gene. If you have really big problems that you need to discuss, we could do it right here.
Nah, that's not necessarily. I just talk to Jack Daniel, and always he gives me the best answers.
Not Monday mornings, I hope.
It's usually my best research. But thanks for the offer, Loren. I'm sure your wife will.
It's a standing offer, Gene, and I'm going to make it every week from now on.
On your couch and just let up. I do have to say it is important, and it's good to have other people to talk to and bounce ideas off of. So having a network of friends and colleagues and whatever is big. But I don't know. I've whenever I have to make a bigger decision, I usually find a few people, like either in my company, like employees of mine, or clients, to bounce some stuff off of. You have to have somebody to talk to about certain things. You can't run a business completely in a vacuum. So.
All right. Thank you, Gene. Gene Marks is president of the Marks Group, a consulting firm that advises small businesses, especially about their technology needs. He also hosts his own podcast, Small Biz Ahead, with the Hartford Insurance. You can find it at sba.hartford.com. As always, Gene, thanks so much.
Thank you, Loren. That was fun. We'll see you soon.
Take care.